In the city of Orange, a post-industrial city of more than 30,000 people, there are many abandoned buildings. On September 1st, 2016, a large fire broke out in one of these abandoned buildings on Lakeside Avenue, North Orange. The fire was large and threatened to spread to other buildings, so firefighters worked hard to bring it under control. After the fire was extinguished, an investigation inside the building revealed a badly burned body. The examination of the body took nearly 2 weeks, and the body was barely identified. It was identified as Robin West, a woman from Chester, Pennsylvania, who worked as a prostitute in a hotel in Union Township. So how did that body end up in this building? How did the fire start? Did she burn to death, or had she already been brought to this building dead? Investigators set out to unravel the complex questions. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications before we start unraveling the mystery. I want you to be among the first to see the new stories coming next week. Khalil Wheeler Weaver was born on April 20th, 1996. He grew up in the affluent neighborhood of Seven Oaks in Orange, New Jersey. His parents worked in law enforcement in the area. His stepfather was a detective in the neighboring town of East Orange, and his uncle retired from the Newark Police Department. As a member of Orange High School's class of 2014, he had few friends, did not participate in extracurricular activities, and did not date. He had a style of being alone and living quietly, not interacting with anyone. A high school classmate described Wheeler Weaver's style as nerdy and thought his tucked-in shirts, khaki pants, and plain white shoes were proof that he came from a good home, a good family. At the time of the crimes, Wheeler Weaver was working as a security guard at Sterling Securities and, according to the call history on his phone, had hopes of becoming a police officer. Robin West was originally from Philadelphia and had 2 older clients. In earlier years, she spent a period in a treatment center for behavioral and mental health issues. Her father was a deacon, but she was a more adventurous and energetic girl with strong opinions who loved to sing. When she was 18, she left home and began working as an exotic dancer and sex worker in Philadelphia. At the end of August, she and a friend planned a trip to Newark. There she decided to meet a man she had been corresponding with on the social dating site Tagged. She drove to the house on Lakeside Avenue that he had described. His friend didn't know it was the last time he had seen him. He never heard from her again and had no idea where she had gone. On September 1st, his body was found in a fire, which was an indication of why he had not been heard from. The assailant had come to the scene and helped the firefighters and search and rescue teams. Perhaps he was proud of his work. Joanne Brown was a good and loving 33-year-old woman who moved to Newark from Augusta, Maine, and struggled with mental health issues. After graduating high school, she began working as an exotic dancer and sex worker. Her friends tried to get her out of it and got her into treatment. Thanks to the counseling she received, her life was much improved and she had to follow a difficult schedule. On October 20th, 2016, a week before Halloween, she went out with a friend. She was chatting with her friend in front of Popeyes in South Newark and was happy. A man looking for his next victim pulled up in a gray sedan. He told Joanne that he was attracted to her and wanted to spend time together. She agreed, but she didn't have her phone with her, so she asked him for it and told him to call her friend and not to worry about her. She called her friend on his phone, and even though she didn't know where he was going, she told her friend not to worry. At the end of the road, they arrived at an abandoned building on Highland Avenue in Orange, which the killer had prepared in advance. Joanne still had the phone and called her friend one more time and could only breathe. Her friend tried to call her later, but she couldn't get through. Joanne died that night. It was about a month and a half later that Joanne's body was found. The bloodthirsty killer was on the rampage, and yet no one knew he existed. There was no evidence that this was a case of a serial killer. In April, the killer began contacting Tiffany Taylor, with whom he was obsessed. Tiffany had been living in Florida as a professional dancer with dance training. Then she became pregnant and moved back to New Jersey. To make ends meet, she began working as a sex worker like the other victims. She repeatedly rejected the man who kept texting her and who was 13 years her junior. When the 33-year-old woman was offered money, she planned to defraud him. She went to his house, took the money in advance, excused that she had forgotten the condoms in the car, went to his car, and ran away from him. She then planned to get rid of him by changing her number. However, 7 months later, Tiffany started receiving messages from an unknown number. It was the same person again, and she never guessed where he had gotten her new number. Tiffany accepted his offer to meet to scam the man again, and they met at a motel on November 15th, 2016. The man was wearing a ski mask and forcibly dragged the woman into the car and told her they were going to a more secluded location. After handcuffing her in the car, on the way, the woman realized what was about to happen to her and told the man, "You can't kill me because my phone is in the motel and all the information is there and they will find you immediately." So he decided to go back to the motel, and she managed to get out of the handcuffs and get into the motel room before him. After locking the door, she screamed for help and he ran away. Tiffany managed to escape from the hands of this killer. But no one listened to her, and the authorities did not pursue the case. If they had listened to Tiffany, would they have caught the killer earlier? Serial killers often choose their victims from sex workers or orphans. This choice may seem more assured to them, as they think that the police will not investigate the possible disappearances too much. But this killer's next victim had a completely different profile. Sarah was a young woman from a good family, a university student, working hard to get her degree. She was not a sex worker or a dancer. She had 2 sisters, and she was a little chubbier than them and a little shy about making friends. So she signed up for an app called Tag to meet and chat with new people. In the following days, she met a user named Smile Lil Yacht Rock and found herself in a nice conversation. After chatting for hours without leaving the screen, he accepted the man's offer to meet. Those who knew him said that this behavior was very out of character for him. On the night of November 22nd, she borrowed her family's van and set out to meet the man she had met. They met him on the road, and after he got into the car, they drove to the Eagle Rock area. No one heard from Sarah. After that date, he had strangled her to death and left her among the rocks. Sarah didn't answer her phone. The authorities began searching for her, and 3 days later, the van she was driving was found behind an abandoned building. Her false hair extensions were found on the floor of the car. Sarah's close friend Samantha immediately opened Sarah's computer and entered her username and password into an app to find out who she had last spoken to. She created a fake profile and arranged to meet the man. She gave this information to the police and arranged for 2 detectives to go to the meeting place. Now the police teams had met Khalil Wheeler Weaver. Khalil Wheeler Weaver, who was interrogated, was only 20 years old and quiet. not having many friends. Those who knew him didn't have much to say about him. After school, he started working as a security guard and wanted to be in the police force like his uncle and stepfather. It was during this period that he opened up a bit and was DJing in a nightclub. He came from a good family and had a clean record, so he was never seen as a suspect. Wheeler was arrested in early December and charged with 3 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder. He pleaded not guilty in the first trial, and a second trial was held in May 2017 to gather evidence and access phone records. At this hearing, phone records, his whereabouts, and even his presence when Robin West's body was found were identified. 2 other phones belonging to Wheeler were found in the searches, and these phones were used to make calls about the use of chemicals and the making of poisons. In addition to all this evidence, there was one witness who managed to survive. He had known Tiffany before and had been a witness for years and years and years, and this was a witness who would reveal all the facts about her. As a result, the judge imposed a sentence of 160 years in prison, 145 years of which were eligible for the program. The aim of the sentence is that this defendant will never again be allowed to walk in public. When asked for his thoughts on the verdict, he showed no sign of sadness, saying that he had done nothing wrong, that he was just the victim of a conspiracy, and that the sentence was not right. The crazy story of a serial killer and a young man in New Jersey. A sad story that shows how storms can rage inside people who seem quiet and harmless. We remember the dead women with mercy. We've come to the end of another story full of tragedy. Has justice been done? You can decide for yourself. If you are interested in this kind of cases, don't forget to subscribe. I don't want you to miss the next videos. See you again in the next broadcast. Take care of yourselves.